It was the best results. It was the worst results. She was a client of excitement. He was a client of disbelief. It was the epoch of joy. It was the epoch of struggle. It was the season of swimsuit vacations. It was the season of hiding away. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. Now, if you're a literary head like me, you might be thinking that why is Stephen quoting Charles Dickens and talking about A Tale of Two Cities on the podcast? But it's not A Tale of Two Cities. Today, what I want to do is I want to give you a tale of two clients. I want to compare and contrast probably one of the clients that got some of the best results in the last couple of years with a client that struggled, that didn't get the best results. I want to compare and contrast these two individuals so that you can understand a little bit better about what is it that lets people be successful and what is it that holds people back. So by comparing and contrasting these two clients, Mandy and Robert, we can start to discover what we can implement in our own practice as well as what we want to avoid in our own health journeys. But before we get into that, I just want to do a little bit of business bookkeeping here today. This is the very first in a new season for the Health Rebels podcast. This is going to be the first one with a video broadcast that I'm going to be putting on Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook. If you want to check the show notes for details on that, go ahead. And we will put links to find those there. But because of that, some things are different. I'm using different tech. I'm using different hardware. I've got a brand new camera. I've got a new microphone. And I don't really know how to use this. I'm also using new software for the podcast. So this week, things are going to be jumbled a little bit. We're going to be working through a couple things, trying to figure out how to set up the studios, how to set up all the audio. So if things sound different, hopefully they sound for the better, but I just want to let you know we're going through some changes right now. There's going to be some growing pains, and I'm excited to kind of get over that hopefully soon and get the podcast going in a really smooth trajectory. And in the first part of that, we got to talk about today's podcast. Today, we are talking about a tale of two clients. Compare and contrast what sets someone up for success and what sets people up for failure. Right? So let's compare and contrast Mandy and Robert. Now, Mandy was one of the best clients I've worked with in the last couple of years, as far as it comes with not only what it was like to interact with her, but also the results that she got. Right? She did incredible. And the thing that really set her apart was she was always super excited. Like from the very first conversation we had, every time we start coaching, it starts off with that initial coaching call to figure out what your goals are. Really, what do you hope to get out of health and wellness? Why are you doing these healthy habits? What are you going to gain from this process? Right? And from that very initial phone call, she was so excited. She had painted this image of Mandy 2.0, and she was so thrilled to be able to play with her kids and have the energy and keep up and not have to take a nap in the middle of the day. And she was excited to, feel good, to lose some weight, to look better for her husband. She was so excited. And if you've been following the Health Rebels podcast, way back in episode 8, we talked about the number one secret to a successful weight loss journey or a successful health journey is being excited about your potential. I don't think I've worked with a client that was more excited than Mandy, and her results were really dramatic because of it. We need to have excitement. What about the other side? What happens for Robert's case? Well, Robert wasn't excited about his potential. Every time we tried to do these goal settings and dream casting and all these exercises to get you thinking about the future, he kept coming back to being angry about his present. He didn't like where he was. He didn't like what shape he was in. He didn't like the way the mirror looked. He didn't like the way he felt when he talked to other people. He hated his present condition, and he could never get past that. He was always angry about his present. And unlike being excited about your potential that changes your physiology, being angry about your present also sends out the worst biochemistry you can have that hinders and holds you back from actually getting results from your exercise and your nutrition programs. Right? When you're angry, when you're stressed, it changes your biochemistry and it will actually impede the results of the behaviors you're doing. And if you want more information on this, we've talked about mindset a lot on this podcast as well. You can just search mindset, or I believe it would be episode 11 or 12 where we talked about mindset specifically, and the effects that it can have on us. Right? So we had a difference in excitement, right? Mandy was excited. Robert was angry. And that separated whether they were going to be successful or if they were going to struggle. The same is true for you and I. Anytime you have a goal, whether it be losing weight, getting stronger, having more energy to play with your kids, or just not waking up with those aches and pains anymore, if we're excited about it, it's going to change the outcome. If we're angry about where we are right now, it's going to hold us back. Right? Another thing that really assisted Mandy as she was working was she really trusted the process. Right? She had experience. She saw the testimonials from past clients. She saw the conversations. She saw my personal results. She saw results with clients. And she believed that if she just did what we asked, that things would work out well. She trusted the process and she showed up. Robert, on the other hand, Robert had a lot of questions about the process. A lot of the methodologies with Health Rebels, breaking free from common standards, sometimes I ask for things that are a little different. Sometimes I don't necessarily promote what everyone else promotes. Sometimes I go away from trends. And this caused a lot of skepticism and a lot of doubt. And I want you to always voice any concerns you have or any doubts that you might have, especially if you're working with me as a client, because we want that buy-in. But this particular individual just always doubted the process, always struggled to kind of buy in, right? So they would put their toe into the water and then they would run away when it felt cold. They never got in. They never got immersed in the methodologies. And it's really hard to get the outcomes if you can't commit long-term to a process. So the difference between Mandy and Robert was whether they trusted or if they doubted the process. Whatever you do on your journey, you have to be excited about it and you have to believe it's going to work and trust that it's going to work. Speaking of process, there's differences between Mandy and Robert here too. Mandy was focused on the process. She said, this week I have to do 5 workouts. This week I want to get 39 nutrition points, our own proprietary nutrition system that has point values. And she said, I want to do this, right? She set weekly goals and she focused on doing those. She knew if she could do the process, the outcome would come. Robert, on the other hand, was constantly obsessed with the outcome. He wanted to get some weight loss and he was obsessed with his weight. Some days he would step on the scale and weight would change, and because weight's a really finicky thing, it goes up and down every day. Even throughout the day it'll change. And if he saw any upswing, because he was obsessed about the outcome, he said it was failing, he didn't care, he got upset, and he went off the wagon. Right? When we're focused and obsessed about the outcome, in a really cruel, ironic way, we end up pushing the outcome further and further away from us. Mandy was focused on the process, showing up. What do I do that leads to the outcome? Robert was always watching the outcome, not able to partake in the process, and then kept himself from the outcome he wanted. Right? And then we can also talk about the support networks. Right? With Health Rebels coaching, when you sign up for coaching, depending on the level of coaching you get, you will probably be connected in the client community. Mandy was excited to get to connect with other people going through the same thing she was. Right? She was excited to be part of that process. She saw not always her struggles in other people, but she saw what other people were doing to overcome challenges, envisioned what that would look like in her situation, and that built up more excitement. Mandy was excited to share what she was going through so that she could help other people. She was excited to connect. Robert, would you believe it? Kind of the opposite. He thought that he was different. He thought his situation was different than others, that he was special, that he couldn't really see himself in other people. He would see other people talk about their goals, say, that's not my goal. It doesn't matter. It doesn't connect to me, right? He might see other people talking about overcoming the challenges that their children had with their nutrition and say, I don't have children. That struggle doesn't relate to me. I'm wasting my time listening to it. Rather than seeing something came up and changed the nutrition plan. And when that challenge arose, this was the situation and the solution that they came up with, right? Instead of seeing the solution and then applying it, he just saw the difference and didn't want to connect, right? Support and accountability is an absolutely integral part to your healthy journey, right? That's why it's part of the holistic wheel. And he didn't want that network. So that's another thing that separated them. Are you connected with people or are you isolated? When you isolate yourself, you're going to hold yourself back. There's also a difference in the reason why they participated in the programs, right? We talked about Mandy being very process focused and Robert being outcome focused. Mandy did the process because it felt good. She enjoyed what it was doing. In the moment, the process was a reward in and of itself. Right? The process was good enough. The outcome is a happy bonus, and she loved those bonuses. She loved getting the results, but they were an added bonus, right? What she really enjoyed was the way that the exercise made her feel, how it made her kind of reset her day and gave her more energy, how she was enjoying discovering new range of motions, discovering new endurance, new stamina. She was enjoying doing the thing just because it felt good to do the thing. What do you think Robert did? Robert hated the process, right? He did this because it felt bad. He felt bad, so he did the process to try to get over how bad he felt. Mandy did the process because the process felt good. She wanted the goodness from the process, and Robert wanted to escape from the yuckiness of how he felt in his day-to-day situation, right? And we've talked a lot about the difference in excitement, the difference in the process versus the outcome. And wouldn't you know it, being excited about the process, being excited about your outcomes, being excited made it more consistent. Mandy showed up really consistently. She was good. She showed up. She did the things that she said. She wasn't perfect. And if you find her testimonial, I did change her name for this podcast episode. But if you find her testimonials, you'll see she oftentimes says, I wasn't even that good. I could have done better. I could have pushed myself a little bit harder. I could have done a couple more workouts. But she showed up every week. She showed up consistently every week. And there were times where things in the family would derail her or holidays occurred and we would have to rediscuss how to get back engaged. But she was really consistent throughout the process because she was excited about it. Robert, during our time together, was a lot of start and stop. We were constantly restarting the process. We never really had this consistent momentum to benefit from. And part of the reason was because of the anger about his current results, because of the doubt in the process, because of being obsessed with the outcome and constantly feeding negativity into the process, the program was a negative experience to him. Right? Because of that, because of the way he came about it, it was a negative experience. And when we find things that we're negative about, we have a natural aversion to it. We want to avoid it because it sucks. It's yucky. It makes us feel bad. In fact, most people come to me because they hate exercise, right? They've gone through some personal trainer punished them in the gym, made them feel like crap, or, there's been a lot of body shaming and they're uncomfortable, right? A lot of them come to me for that because they don't want to go to the traditional gym model. They're not consistent because of all this baggage. One of my clients, Mindy, not to be confused with Mandy, Mindy, we changed the terminology. We avoided the word workouts because workouts to her felt like those really grueling boot camp things, the things that beat her up, made her feel bad, made her hurt, made her injured in the past, and she was kind of scared of workouts. Now, of course, we need physical activity to be healthy, right? We need to be active, and so we didn't do workouts. We didn't do exercises, but we did give her an opportunity to level up each week. So we had like 4 or 5 level ups each week, right? Opportunities to level up. Right? And we got away from that baggage, right? She had aversion to workouts. We didn't do workouts. We did level ups. A lot of people with their health journey, because of the way things have been in the past, have aversions to it. And Robert was no exception, right? Robert also had aversions because it was a negative process. He was angry about his present. He doubted the process. So every time he tried to do the process, there was that negative self-talk. And that badgering in his head, right? Who wants to be obsessed with that, right? And then there was that constant obsession with the outcome that made him constantly feel like he was failing, right? All of this just made it the exact opposite of excitement, to where he just didn't want to show up. And why would he? So Mandy, overall in her process, lost, I think, somewhere around 40 to 50 pounds. And I love the better stories, right? She stopped taking naps in the midday because she had more energy. She was able to take her kids to the park and play because she had more energy. She went on vacations and was present because she wasn't self-confident. She wasn't insecure about showing up. She, one time on a coaching call, talked about going on vacation, wearing a swimsuit for the first time in a decade, and being like, holy crap, I'm hot shit, right? She was so excited. She was glowing. I absolutely love Mandy's results. Robert, on the other hand, I hate to say it, was a weight loss client that gained a lot of weight, struggled to not gain weight. And we never came up with a solution, right? There was a lot of struggles that him and I could not work together on. And unfortunately, Robert gained weight when he was trying to lose weight. Got the exact opposite outcome of what he was hoping for, because there were a lot of hardships. And I don't want that for you. As a health rebel, as a follower of this podcast, I want you to have success. I want you to be more like Mandy. I want you to be excited about your potential. Trust your process. Focus on that process. Connect with other people. Do it just for the sake of doing it, because it feels good all in of itself. And then be consistent. If you can do those things, you can have tremendous outcomes. But if you do the opposite, if you're angry about where you are right now, if you doubt your process, if you become obsessed about the outcome, if you isolate yourself, if you try to do this as a way to punish yourself for feeling bad, and if you're really spotty and inconsistent, you're going to struggle. And I don't want that for you. I want you to succeed like Mandy. And until I see you again for another episode of the Health Rebels podcast, I want you to keep the oath. Remember, the Health Rebels oath says to reject extremes in health and fitness, to energize yourself with healthy habits, to break free from common standards, to excite yourself about the potential, and then finally, ultimately, love yourself and act accordingly. Keep the oath and come on back tomorrow for another episode of the Health Rebels podcast. And until I see you then, you know what to do. Keep the oath.